Yeah, the Thursday night drinking song was inspired because I used to go out on a Thursday night, not to drink but to rehearse. So when I had the band, we used to rehearse in Liverpool city centre, and then when we drove back home again afterwards, we'd load the gear back. By the time we actually got out of the rehearsal rooms, it was really late. You know, it was like 11 o'clock or whatever, and town was packed. And it always struck me as kind of, and at first I thought this was students, you know, I thought it must be student night in town and that's why it's so busy. But actually what I noticed is that they weren't really student age at all. These were people who were just out having a proper night out, like a Friday or a Saturday, but just happened to be on a Thursday night instead. And it kind of struck me that this was a rebellious act because they had work the next day, the vast majority of them, and they clearly didn't care, and they clearly were taking this kind of attitude whereby, you know, I'll get through Friday. I've got one day to get through and then I can have a rest, so I can go out on the welly on a Thursday night and that's fine. It was an interesting sort of creative take, I thought, because I've always thought that, you know, working 40 hours a week is far too long for anybody. And, you know, we're in a time, and we're certainly in a time when I wrote the song as well, because this appeared on the first album, Corridors of Stone. We were in a time where, you know, the trade union movement was just trying to defend itself. You know, we hadn't really made any gains for a long time. And what you really want, I suppose, is to be part of a movement that actually makes life better rather than stops the other side from making things worse. And one of the things that I've always thought would be a great first step was to have a 4-day week with no loss of pay. And of course, the trade union movement didn't seem to be in a position to actually push that themselves. And yet here we were on a Thursday night where working people were just basically making that decision themselves, where, okay, I'm going to turn up tomorrow, but I'm turning up in flesh. I'm not going to turn up in spirit, and I'm not really going to be in a fit state to do any meaningful work. So the idea of the Thursday night drinking song was just as a tribute to all of those people in town who had taken the decision themselves that they weren't going to have a school night, a term I really hate, where people can't, you know, your leisure time is your own, your evenings as well as anything else, but people kind of limit themselves because they save themselves for work. And these people weren't. They were making a calculated decision that I'll get away with it tomorrow because I've only got the one day to do. So this was my little fun sort of way of paying homage to them. It's one of my rowdiest songs, really. It's difficult to do when I've just got the acoustic guitar, but with the band it was great, you know, and people would get up and dance to it. And that's really the kind of feeling that I want. I want people to feel kind of uplifted when they hear the song. I want them to get the cheekiness of it. I want them to get the rebelliousness of it. And yeah, I want to have fun with the song, basically. It's one of those old-fashioned songs where it doesn't even quite hit 2.5 minutes. So I'll link to it below this video at parrysongs.co.uk, and I'll link to it below, and you'll be able to hear the song in full. It's not something in my sets much anymore, but if you want it back, give us a shout and I'll start including it again.